Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video I will be speaking about series that I started but haven't finished yet, because I came to realize, or I've been more cognizant of owning a lot of series without having read any of the books or only having read the first book. So I want to kind of prioritize reading series and kind of going through the series that I own before I get new books or complete the series that I only own the first book of. So I will just be speaking about those series, and the first one is the Discworld series universe by Terry Pratchett. I have read the first book, which is The Color of Magic, and I am also aware that there are a lot of sub-series in that in the Discworld world. I have also read The We Free Men, which is about Tiffany Aching, I think twice already, and I really enjoyed it. I have read this before, but I am intending to reread it again, and then I've been kind of going back and forth on whether to read this kind of in publication order or to prioritize some certain sub-series. I have heard things about the City Watch series and about, I think, the Reaper Man series, but yeah, I haven't really decided yet. But what I do want to do this year is reread this book and then read on in The Light Fantastic, which I think is the second book in the series about Rincewind, who is a wizard, and I think that's basically everything that I know that I remember from this book, so a reread is definitely necessary here. I am also like, Terry Pratchett is always a writer who, in my mind, is just subverting like conventions of the fantasy genre, having a lot of humor and writing funny stories. So I'm hoping, and the books are also fairly short, so I'm hoping to make my way through a few of them this year, which I have had as a goal for the past few years as well, but I never did. So this is definitely a priority this year. The next series I have is The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. This is the first book, Malice. Basically, I think there are like 3 series in the same universe, and I own basically all the books except for the very last one. And I have a thing of wanting to read things in order, as was maybe obvious before as well with Discworld. So I cannot start a later series before having read the one that precedes it. So I have read Malice, the first book. I don't remember that much, if I'm honest. I know that it's like Viking inspired. I don't recall any of the characters. It's been a few years. And I think I listened to the audiobook, so it wasn't really deep in my mind when I read it, and I probably didn't pay too much attention. So I also intend to reread this. I want to reread this and then read the second one definitely this year. Maybe I can even make it through the entire series. And one big thing that I kind of want to wait for in order to read this again is that the Broken Binding is making new editions, and it's the fantasy subscription box for, I don't remember which month, but upcoming month. And yeah, they always make really great editions of books with illustrations, and they just look super, super nice. So once I get those books, I want to read this series and then continue on with the next series, and then eventually get to, I think, the Bloodthorn saga. I don't remember, the one with the dragon on the cover. I can't remember. I don't remember the name, but I will put a picture here. Yeah, so this is also one that I'm intending to continue reading this year. The next series I have is the Wayfarers series, or like companion novels by Becky Chambers. I have read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was an amazing book. I loved the dynamics of the characters. I loved the way that you kind of get to know them, that the way that they travel throughout this universe. They are basically tasked with having to, I think, tunnel from one point in the galaxy to a different point and kind of do that work. And then, yeah, they basically, it's about this crew on this ship, and it was incredible. I have been meaning to continue on with the second one, and I do realize that they are like companion novels, so they don't follow the same characters, but they're all kind of set in the same universe. But I haven't really gotten around to it. I own all of the 4 books, of course. This is the purpose of the video. So I might make this a priority to read as well, at least the second book, because I do have really fond memories of this, and I might even reread this at some point, because it was just so, it was like a warm hug. I really, really liked it. I really enjoyed it, and I think that Becky Chambers is just an incredible writer who writes thought-provoking works. I've also read her The Monk and the Robot series, which I really, really liked, and I definitely have to get back to this as well. The next book I have, or the next series, is the Witchlands series by Susan Dennard. I have read the first, I think, 3 books, or 4 books if you count the novella in between. I have read those multiple times. I haven't read the 4th and the 5th. This is the finale. I haven't read these. And this is on my TBR for this year. I'm not sure if I will reread the first books that I read. This is basically about a country, or like a world, where there are witches who have like different areas that they are proficient in. The main character here is a truth witch, which is really rare, and she can tell whether people tell the truth or not. And then in the first book, she has to flee with her best friend, who is a thread witch, and yeah, she has to flee the country because she is wanted by the royal court, because her gifts are really useful in a political context. And basically it starts from there, and it's technically YA, I think, but it reads like upper YA, I would say. I really love the series. I have reread the first books so many times, and I think at least 4 or 5 times. And I really like the characters, I really like the world, but like when the 4th book came out, I really didn't I kind of missed jumping back into it, because there were also some years in between book publications after the 3rd book. But I really, really want to pick this back up, because I just have so much love for the characters, for Safi, for Isolde, for Edwin, who's the Blood Witch, which the 3rd book is about. Then Merrick, I think his name was, a prince, main character in the 2nd book. And I think, I remember that one of the side characters was my favorite, Prince Leopold, who appears throughout the series at random points, and I really, really enjoyed basically just the character constellations. So I am intending to read and finish the series this year. The next book or series I have is the Lady Astronaut series by Mary Robinette Kowal. I have also, this is the 4th book, and I think the last one, but there may be a 5th one. I don't really know, or I'm not sure right now whether there will be a 5th one. I thought this was the last. I have read the first 3 books in the series. The first one I adored. It's basically about an alternate history when in the 1950s there's an asteroid that hits Earth, a little ways off the Atlantic coast in the US, and then basically the entire no not yeah the Atlantic coast. So the East Coast is basically wiped out, and the US government and everything has to kind of rebuild because a lot of the key players got wiped out. NASA has to relocate to Kansas, and then there's like an expedited necessity to go to space very quickly and to get to the moon, and to, because it becomes clear that Earth is not, it's not viable to stay on Earth in the long run, so they have to kind of expedite the space program and go off world to find new ways to settle and to keep the human race alive. So I really like this aspect. It's it also, like, the main character is a Jewish woman who works for NASA with her husband, and I just really liked her character. And then, yeah, I mean, as the title says, Lady Astronauts. So Elma York, the main character, works at NASA and is then chosen to become an astronaut to go to the moon with other women. And it's about them, about their training, about like difficulties that they run into with public perceptions, because we are still in the 50s, and it like addresses a lot of issues that I just really like the combination. I like the characters, I like the alternate history angle of it, perspective. I really like that it addressed so many issues, or like societal issues, and talks about them, addresses them, and really makes you think. And I also just really enjoyed the writing style of this. The second and third book continue that like storyline, and you kind of get varying perspectives of this alternate world. And I have the last book still to read. I wanted to read this last year when it came out, but I didn't, or 2 years ago even. At this point, I don't remember. Yeah, but I will definitely pick this up this year, and I might even reread some of the earlier books because it has been a few years and I really enjoyed them. The next book I have is the Likeness trilogy by James Islington, who you may know as the author of The Will of the Many and The Strength of the Few, which really catapulted him in terms of popularity, I think. This is his first trilogy. I read the first book. This is the second. I don't have the first book here on hand at the moment. I also don't really remember that much about the first book. I remember glimpses. I remember some characters, but not even to the point that I remember their names. So that's on me. But I think I read this like in 2020, so like a good few years ago. And I have been hearing good things about this because people were, of course, curious after the success of The Will of the Many about the first series by this author. Yeah, so what I do remember is that it had a really interesting magic system, which I also like in Will of the Many. And I think, considering this is like a debut trilogy, it was a really good one. At least that's what I'm hearing. And I do own the entire thing. I really liked The Will of the Many, so I definitely also want to read this. Otherwise, I would have probably gotten rid of it at this point. I'm not sure if I can make it happen this year or if I may wait, but it's definitely on my radar as like having to continue the series. But this is also a series that I definitely have to reread the first book of, because I don't remember anything or like definitely not enough to dive straight into the second book. I might also rely on a summary of the first book, but I'll have to see what I can find. And then the last book and the last series that I have to continue reading is the Emily Wilde series by Heather Fawcett. I have read this one. I think I read it at a point in like my life, or like my reading life, or like at a point in time generally, where this just hit for me. I don't think that it would be the same or get the same rating. I think I gave it 4 stars. I really, really liked it when I read it. It's like really like it has kind of an academic tone. The main character, the protagonist, is an academic who's studying, I think, in the Arctic or like somewhere in a far removed place about fairies. And I think she brings like a companion. I don't remember how they get there together, but at least they there's like a love interest, and it's like a really slow book, from what I recall. So that might not be for everyone, and I definitely have to be in the correct mood to read and enjoy this. But when I did read the first book, I really liked it. I also have the second and third book, and yeah, I probably have to wait a little, for the right mood to strike to continue this and read the second and third one. But I definitely plan on doing so. Yeah, so when I'm in the mood for something that's like academic and maybe something that I don't really have to pay that much attention to, because a lot of the long epic fantasy series take a lot of brain space and sometimes I don't have that. So that's when I have to get back to this. And yeah, I I don't know. I really, it can really hit. I know from from my experience from the first one that I can really enjoy the story, and I definitely hope that that will also be the case for the second and third book. But I will have to see. So those were the series that I want to like that I read the first book of or the first few books of, and that I want to continue sooner rather than later. That being said, I have multiple hundred books on my physical TBR that I have never read before. So I have a lot to choose from, and I think sometimes that makes it hard to really pick the things up that I want to read because I have so much choice. But that's on me. And yeah, as I said, some of these are definitely priorities. Some of these I definitely plan on reading this year or rereading this year, because that's basically one of my long-term goals for reading goals for the year. Um, yeah. So, if you've read any of these series, let me know what you think about them. And see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. But I might also rely on like a what is it? I don't remember the word. Oh,